Yeah, it's funny because when I first started doing stand-up, I kept like almost going into preaching because I didn't know, like they're not that separate, really.
Yes. Today's guest brings a unique blend of truth and comedy to the conversation. I'm joined by Taylor Ransom. He's a content creator and a Christian comedian who uses humor to challenge compromise and point people back to Christ. Whether it's church culture, biblical worldview, or cultural chaos, Taylor approaches it all with honesty, humility, and a whole lot of laughs. You're going to enjoy this refreshing and thought-provoking conversation with Taylor Ransom. Taylor, welcome to Strong Church.
Strong Church. Thank you
Yes.
for having me, Senior
Yeah.
Global Pastor Lucas. I appreciate
Dude,
it.
I've been looking forward to
The
this
green room
one.
here, by the way, I
Yeah.
haven't been seeing the green room yet, but I will be reviewing it on my Instagram stories. I will be reviewing it.
As you should. I appreciate that. Yeah, look, I've been looking forward to this one. I'm looking forward to laughing with you here. And I think that, the first time I had encountered some of your work on Instagram, which I'm sure you get a lot, and it was one of the ones with the escalator and, you're kind of, just showing up. And it's funny because I have to imagine there's people that they see your stuff and they don't know that you're joking at first. Like, how often does that happen?
It does happen sometimes. Yeah, actually, just the other day, I was in a comment thread on Instagram, and I just commented something. It was just someone I was replying to, and people started. My bio on Instagram says megachurch pastor, comedian, and so people started replying to it, and they're like, "I can't believe a member of the clergy would respond like this to." And I was like, "You guys didn't even look at the page. You didn't even. You just read the bio. You didn't watch one video
Right.
before you. Yeah, some people do that. You deal with
It's a quick draw.
The quick draw, the odd church Karen in the
Yes.
Facebook. That's
Yep.
where it goes down.
Yeah.
Facebook. That's where they get me.
I could imagine that.
Yeah, Instagram, 98% of everybody's on board. Like,
Yeah.
they get it. But
Yep.
like Facebook, they get in there and they're like, I can't believe that you would be, arguing and being upset about the size of the LED wall. It's not about that. It's about the kingdom. And I'm like, thank you for iterating my point for me. Thank you.
Yes.
But
Let's talk about how you broke into this, right?
Okay.
When I was growing up, social media was not a thing yet. We probably had some ideas that this someday could be like this, but what was that journey of getting started into kind of bringing, comedy into the ministry world?
Well, yeah. Well, my pastor likes me. My pastor that I used to work for in Kentucky likes me a lot now. He really encourages me. But yeah, I remember back in the day when I dropped out of Bible college, and he and family and different people were a little upset about it. But anyway, that all to say, I started making online content about 10 years ago. I was homeschooled K through 12, so I was still in mom's basement, and I started when I was about 17 or so, and I was making comedy. Funny enough, I had actually been reading and studying Dave Ramsey for a while, and I had taught the Financial Peace University class at church. So I thought I knew, me with $5,000 in credit card debt, thought I knew something about finances, because I had paid that off, and it was great.
Of course.
So I was making videos
You're basically
online.
Elon Musk right there.
I was
Yeah.
Elon Musk.
Yeah,
Come
right.
on. Like, I've got
Exactly.
rocket ships are coming next week. Okay. Don't worry about it. We're going to put a Daddy's House campus on the moon. But anyway, so I was making videos about all sorts of things. I was making YouTube videos about finances. I was making YouTube videos about cultural stuff, trying to react to things. Because
And just serious reactions at that time.
Serious reactions. I was a big 2016 YouTube
Yeah.
guy. I was watching
Yeah.
Charlie. I was watching Ben Shapiro. I was watching all those guys. But none of those really seemed to take off. And then I had fun one day. I was just messing around, and I made a fake commercial for a dating site called PentecostalSingles.com. And it was like a fake commercial, and I bought the domain just to see what would happen. And then I got probably about 30% of the people who watched it thought it was real and were upset that they couldn't register at the site. And so I was like, guys, Upward exists, okay? There's Christian Mingle. They're not
Right.
sponsoring me. I don't get money
Right.
from them.
But if they want to sponsor this show, we'd be happy to talk to them.
Call up Senior Global Pastor Lucas. Call him up. Anyway, so I put that video out. It did pretty good. I think it got like 100,000 views or something. It got shared on Facebook and all these places. And I just kind of felt, I was like, that was interesting because the creative process was different. It was very natural.
Yeah.
I didn't think that much about it. And so I just leaned into that, you know, I just leaned into making church comedy stuff, and one by one on Facebook videos just went and went and went. You couldn't get paid for it back then, though. That's the thing.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I still took a job working in a Christian TV show for a mega church in Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And I was a little floor director guy.
But you probably got some good material from the.
It was the best thing God ever did for me, was put me working in Christian TV for $9 an hour. It's the best thing that ever happened. So I was there. I was running around with a little clipboard. I was doing the floor director thing, you know. I kept working in church, but also on the other end, I was also making social media content, mostly just out of passion, out of creative expression. I mean, in my head, like, I wanted it to go somewhere, but at the time, there just wasn't, the tools for that weren't really there. That wasn't right, or either that, or I just didn't know how to do it correctly. I just was being passionate. So I just kept making content, and then COVID happened. When COVID happened, the church, you know, half of its operation shut down, and so I had a ton of free time during the week, and also nobody was in the building. So I asked my pastor, I was like, hey, you know the videos I make, right?
Yeah.
And he loved them. And he was like, yeah. So I just started going in the building, and I had a friend at the time that I paid. And I just started filming just as many sketches as I could. I just started filming stuff.
Were you writing these in advance, or you just coming up with them on the spot?
I write about 60% of it.
Okay.
I write the premise. I know what characters I'm going to do or whatever. I kind of know the joke. But a lot of times you get in the bit. You just start playing around, and it's funnier. It's fun. The impromptu stuff is sometimes funnier than the scripted stuff. So I just started going, and those really took off. And at that point, that's when I was like, oh, hold on, could be something here. And I kept making them, eventually quit that job. I had a month where I was like, I didn't know where my income was going to be. This is like COVID era, right? And then TikTok launched the creativity program. And so my first check from there, I was like, oh, I am senior global pastor. Thank you very much. And it started going. So we just started producing content. Now, you know, God's been good. And, you know, we're working on a lot of new projects these days.
That's
and
cool.
So I love what I do. It doesn't make a lot of sense on paper, you know, if you look at it. My resume there's a huge gap in the resume where it just says Taylor Ransom, social media content.
Where do you think that, you know, looking forward, what's the next 5 years look like on social media? What do you think?
Social media? Well, I think more content overall. One area I'm going to lean into a lot more is long form content.
Mm-hmm.
You can expect some updates from me on that in the next couple months. We got something exciting cooking up. It's a secret project. Okay,
Top secret.
Only the assistant pastor, the executive board, and my family members know about it. So that's going to be cool. We're working on more live events. I've been doing more live events. Been doing stand up for like some church conferences, various events, things like that. So that's always fun. I think 5 years.
Had you done any stand-up prior to these videos going viral?
No, which made it insanely stressful.
Let's talk about your first time doing stand-up. Stand-up and preaching, I feel like, have a lot in common to some degree.
There's a good crossover. The thing is like I grew up a PK. Okay, my parents worked in church, and you know, I did some preaching here and there. Okay, you know, everybody goes to a youth conference and, you know, feels called to the ministry at some point.
Yes.
Okay,
especially if there's cute girls that are there, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
You know that altar's crazy. Got to stay safe out there. But yes, so I did some preaching. I did some youth group stuff, some Sunday night stuff. You know, that your dad will let you do things. You know, people let you do things like that. It's funny because when I first started doing stand up, I kept like almost going into preaching because I didn't know, like they're not that separate really.
Yes.
So started doing stand up. I think my first time doing stand up was I was sweating bullets. I fully expected to just derail it. It went pretty well actually. You know, lots of events, you know, past then. But stand up is an ever evolving thing. I'm not a pro at it yet. That's an art form. That's something you're going to spend the rest of your life getting good at.
So, okay, there's always a little bit of truth in humor, and sometimes there's a lot of truth in humor. You know, what are some of the topics that you've taken on and kind of poked fun at a little bit that you think that maybe the church needs to, you know, take a serious look at a little bit in terms of how we operate today, you know, on a broad scale?
You know, the way I think about things with churches is, you know, if you look at scripture, when Jesus talks about, you know, we look at the outside of the cup, God looks at the inside of the cup. I don't think there's necessarily a problem with someone having an LED wall. That's not the problem. The problem is the heart behind what we do. I think really with most of my content, 80% of it is I'm just having a good time. Like we're just having fun. We're making jokes.
Yeah.
I don't write something with the thought of like, oh, I'm going to get them today.
I hope I can, shape culture with this or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to put a dent in the culture war with this.
Yeah.
They haven't seen. Yeah, no, it's not like that. But one thing that I have poked at it's actually probably got more people, whatever, is I do make jokes about unaccredited ministry schools, which I don't have so much a problem with a school that's like giving an educate. Like you're going there and you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
You're going there to learn the material, to be taught and equipped spiritually. Great, love that, all about it. But there are ministry schools that I've encountered through my time in the Pentecostal church where you essentially pay a yearly thing to go and work for free as an intern. And then they print out your certificate after 2 years on an inkjet printer.
I've seen a few of these, yes.
Yeah, and you know what really messed with me is I won't name him, but I had a friend that he says God told him to go to the school. He went there for 2 years. Okay, he graduated. He did so good at the school that he was invited to come back for another year to work a little longer, I guess. And then his life was upended once because he got pulled over and he didn't have car insurance. And so he got like a $250 bill, and he was working at Walmart. And I just saw the whole saga unfold, and the whole thing just made me go like, we got to do something here, okay? If somebody is going to a school and they think they're getting a degree, they're doing that because they think, let's be honest, they all think they're going to be on the church conference circuit.
Sure.
Okay. If you're watching this, the odds of you getting on the stage, with the cool people, it's not very high.
You'll love this. I was just in, we have a campus here, at Turning Point, and I was going to one of our other buildings and I got stopped by a van. Oh. And 3 brothers came out and they were a barbershop trio. And they were
they still make those?
They showed up to pitch themselves to come on to, some of our things. Now, and I'm and I of course said, "Can I hear you sing?" And they sang for me. So like literally like an hour ago I had these 3 guys and they were pretty good. They were pretty good. But yeah, you got to really go after it if you want to make it on the big stage these days, right?
You stinking do. Yeah, if you want to be on the stage, you can't look at it like It's terrible. I don't mean to sound awful, but they seem to think that the doors are just going to open or whatever. Sometimes it does, but most of the time it's like you have to look at it like a profession. Like you have to go about it. You have to be.
If you're doing it to try to just get on the stage, you're
already wrong.
You're doing it for the wrong reasons, right? I didn't go into ministry to get on a stage.
Exactly. Yeah. No. I think that's part of the thing. Is like if you have a genuine call from God on your life, you're not really going to think about the prestige. You're not going to think about platform chasing. You're not going to think about any of that. Like a lot of the most genuine people I know in ministry, nobody knows who they are. I know who they are, but they serve people so well. They love people. They're so into people, and they don't look at it with an attitude of what's in it for them. And I think that, and particularly these young people I'm referencing, I'm not talking about the big names that are already on the posters, but I think a lot of people need to understand that if they want to make money, they can just go be a motivational speaker. It's not that hard. ChatGPT can write your speech and you can sell the t-shirts.
This is true. Let's talk about some trends that the church, has fallen into that need to be retired.
Some trends that need to go. Well, I just don't understand why every worship experience is trying to look like 2000 something U2. Yeah. There's other ways to do the music thing. I love worship. I'm not getting on worship. That's one thing. I think the smoke machines it's time for them to go. I don't have a problem with them, like from a theological anything.
Yeah, right.
Have your smoke machine.
Sure.
But it looks cool. Yeah. It looks cool on the camera. I'll give you that. But it smells bad. And then if you're in this room and it's full of smoke, it's like, I don't know. Maybe there's a new aesthetic to go for.
Now I'm definitely going to get some letters after this podcast.
You're going to get some letters after this for the smoke machines? That's the craziest thing.
I'm sure we got some people watching out there that have a few smoke machines.
Like the smoke machines? I think another trend that probably needs to go is probably the live streams, which is crazy. But I know that's crazy, but we all leaned into the live stream thing during COVID, which made sense because everybody was at home. I don't have a theological problem with the live streams, But I feel like even some big churches that I go to, if I watch the live stream experience is totally different from the in-house experience.
Yeah.
Even just from a practical standpoint, like just set the spiritual thing aside for a second. I don't think it's great advertisement for your church. I actually think it's cooler if you're sharing clips from the sermon or content that's proprietary to your church.
Yeah.
So like I know one church that does this really well. They have a podcast and it's localized. Like this guy is like, I can't remember what town he called into a stream I did a few weeks ago. And he does a podcast that's localized for his city.
Okay.
And he talks about his church and he talks about the things that are going on there. And his viewership is not crazy. He doesn't have 6-figure views on every episode or anything. But he has people show up to his church all the time.
Yeah.
Because he made content for social media about his church. Now, if he was just sharing his church service, his stream, I don't think that would have the same effect.
Yeah. It's interesting. No, that's interesting. Interesting take. I have a show that I do every Tuesday, and I'll give a shout out to Casey Hendrickson, great conservative radio host in my city. And I would bet 40 to 50% of our new church growth comes from people that hear me on this clip. I actually did it today from the parking lot here.
Really?
I call in wherever I am, and he gives me about 15 or 20 minutes. And it's not a sponsored spot. He just, we have a good relationship. He has me on. He calls it Tuesday Tithe with Pastor Miles. And so and basically
Tuesday Tithe.
His attitude is like he's tithing part of his radio show that's normally just a secular show about politics to, Christian ideas.
That's funny.
And so I'll come in and he'll give me like, all the news stories about faith, and I'll give him hot takes off, on those. And we probably get 40 or 50% of our new people that come to the church are from that show.
From that show.
Yeah, from that show in the local market.
See, that's totally unique. It takes you 20 minutes of time.
Yes.
You're in the parking lot.
It's not costing anything, which I'm thankful for them. But it's given us an unbelievable. If I were to stand up and say, "Hey, who first heard me on Casey?" Half my church would raise their hand.
Yeah. Which leads to the next thing that needs to go, which is the handheld iPhone videos. Have you ever seen these things that pastors do? They take the iPhone.
Like while they're on stage?
No, they're not on stage. It's
just
like during the week.
Yes.
They'll put it out on Friday. And they'll be like, hey, guys, if you're looking for a church in your area, pull up at 9 a.m. to this address, hashtag hope for the lost or whatever. And they do the iPhone video. And it's like, by the way, the only people who see that are people who already go to your church.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And the handheld video was a Gary Vaynerchuk thing from like 2016, 15, somewhere in there.
They need a gimbal and somebody else to follow them around to do this.
You already have interns on staff. Just have
pull
one
from
of them
that Bible
hold a camera.
college. Pull from that
Bible college. Make them get that degree. I'm sorry, certificate. Let's call it that.
One of the things that I see as as maybe maybe it's an unintentional theme in a lot of the sketches that you do is sort of this emphasis on being authentic. A lot of the things that you're put, which I think is a very Gen Z desire, is for that authentic, experience. What are some ways that, in a positive sense that pastors maybe watching this or church leaders out there could increase that feeling of authenticity, when it comes to their ministry?
Well, I think some of it is, I think someone along the line told them that God didn't give them what they need to do what he made them to do. And, something that I believe is we all have gifts and talents we have to develop, of course. We're not just like set up out of the womb to do whatever. But I think there's a lot of pastors that are very skilled in something, and just people that are called in general. They're very skilled in something that doesn't fit within the traditional ministry box.
Mm-hmm.
So like take me, for example.
Yeah.
So like, I felt a genuine call to do something for God, and I grew up in church. So naturally you think, oh, I'm going on the preaching circuit. I'm going to do the conferences. I'm going to be up there with Rich Wilkerson Jr. and it's going to be cool. And, I'm going to have the cool shoes. No, that's not actually really what I feel called to, or what I even think I would be equipped for.
Yeah.
But what I'm equipped for does not fit in that box. It's completely different. But if I hid those away and I tried to be like everybody else, I might become somewhat like everybody else. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are kind of in that right now. And I think that when that happens, and when I know people that have done that, is over time you begin to feel something feels off. You'll go through your day-to-day life and you don't know what's off, but something's not right, and they can't place it. And I think that sometimes that's what that is. They know that they are not fully doing what God created them to do, and maybe they don't have a name for it. Maybe they don't even really know what it is fully because they've never dug into that enough. But I believe that if people will seek God personally, intimately, God will reveal that to them, and then they should also just look at what comes most natural to you. What is the thing that you do that feels effortless but gives you the most result?
And that grace gift on their life.
Right. Yes. There's a grace. So like, there's some things that people do. Like for me, if I make a comedy sketch, which I'm not acting like this is some great ordained high level thing. It's a comedy sketch. Let's keep it what it is. I'm not trying to be one of those actors that acts like, I'm saving the world through whatever. I'm making TikToks. Okay. But that comes effortlessly to me. That is not hard to do. It is not effortless for me to go and sit down and write a 45-minute message that sounds sort of like Judah Smith and then get up and preach it.
Yeah.
Because that's just not the natural function. You can use a wrench as a hammer if you want to.
Yeah.
But it's not really gonna fulfill its full purpose. So I think that a lot of people who feel a call of God on their life genuinely do. I'm not in any way inferring that you don't or that you're not called to ministry, because you are. We all are. To some degree or different area, I should say, not a different degree, but a different area. But I think that one thing that, I was actually in Greece not that long ago. I don't want to go off on a bunny trail, but I was in Greece, and there was
way to flex that, by the way.
Way to flex.
I was just in Greece,
I'm senior global pastor.
I mean,
what
the
do you
jet
want me
comes
to
in
do?
handy,
The jet comes in handy. I was in Greece, and I was talking to an older actor who's he was a big deal. He's one of the best actors on set. And I went over to him with my buddy. By the way, he is not saved. He's not a Christian.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to get acting advice from the guy because I do some acting, and down the road I want to get into more acting.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I asked him for acting advice. And he looks at me as he's smoking a cigarette between sets, and he so genuinely goes, man, you got to stop thinking so much. You need to learn to listen. And I was like, what? He's like, stop thinking. He said, make your plans and then reject them. Learn to listen to what's around you, listen to what the moment wants, and do what it says. And I thought, like, that he's giving me some new age hippie stuff. But the more that I think about it, I'm like, no, that actually makes total sense. I think if most people are honest with themselves, they know what they're good at. And you should lean into that.
Yeah.
That's sort of my thoughts. Towards that, to that end anyway.
No, that's so good. There's a verse in scripture where it says, let the peace of God rule your hearts. And the word there for peace, it's in the original language, it's really more of like a referee. It's
Right.
almost like, somebody standing on that foul line in a tennis match, calling, in or out, and it helps to direct us. And I think as whether it's ministry, planting a church, creating content, going into stand up, making a movie for Christ, like, being able to allow the peace of God, like when there is that intimacy. Now, if you don't have intimacy with Christ, our heart is deceitful above all things. It's really easy to just talk yourself into going wrong, down the wrong path. But I think that, to the point you made earlier, that when you have that intimate connection, being able to just lean into the grace that God's given you, the things
Right.
that, come easy, the gifts that he's put on your heart, so important. Taylor, appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thank you.
If people want to find out more about you, where can they go? And
Follow me. I'm on all social media platforms, but Instagram is where I post the most. If you want the edgy Instagram stories that disappear after 24 hours, go to Instagram at Real Taylor Ransom and check me out there. You'll be hearing more from me on YouTube as well.
And maybe some secret updates coming here soon.
Some secret updates. There's a few things in the works.
All right.
Thanks so much for having me.
No, absolutely. Well, thanks for being on the show. Thanks everybody for watching. Until next time, stay strong.